Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today with Lucas Chitwood. Is that correct?
It
Is
is.
that right?
It's with
Perfect.
a C,
Awesome.
not an S.
Right on. And this is going to be a one-on-one coaching session as per usual, real casual. No need to be nervous or anything like that. It's not a test. And I heard your demo. You're good. So before we get into that whole script part of it and reading and coaching, I just want to know a bit about your voiceover experience, how long you've done it for, how long you've coached for, if you've had coaching before.
Yeah, sure thing. So the way I always phrase it is I've been using my voice to help people achieve their goals for over 20 years. I'm in
Right on.
sales. My first sales job, I was 18.
Mhm.
And, in college, I was student government president. So I had to speak in front of people and I've never done any voiceover. So I've been a YouTube content creator for over 2 years.
Okay, wow.
And everybody's always told me, "Hey, you got a great voice," and I'm like, "I know I got a great voice." I mean, I like, and then we always had fun about it. And then my mic went out. I had a Yeti, Blue Yeti, and it went out. And I started looking at mics, and I'm like, "Well, if I'm gonna buy a new mic, maybe I should buy a good one," you know. And I ended up buying the Rode NT1, and that was 6 weeks ago. And then I went, "Oh well." Let's just give this a shot. Let's actually do it because it's fun. And I do have a pretty good voice. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I mean,
Huh.
and it's fun, and it
Your
really is
voice is
fun.
good. And you know what? I think more important than the fact that quality of your voice is good, you're very confident, which is really important in voiceover, especially if you're selling something, because then you don't have to oversell it. You have a really nice, confident quality to it. So you started exactly when was this? Like when you were like, I'm going to do this journey, like the actual voiceover part of it, when you're like, I'm getting,
I
I'm going to do this.
I ordered the mic mm, last week in November 2023.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So super recent.
So yeah, it's like 6, 7 weeks, somewhere around there.
What do
So
you, what kind of mic do you have got? What do you got going on there?
this one here is actually the Sennheiser ME66.
I was gonna say because it looks kind of like mine, which is a 416, but I can tell just by the side of it that it's not. So
So
what?
yeah, I found it used at
uh,
a music store, and I ended up paying 180 bucks for it.
That's it, huh? Cool. Does
Yeah,
it work the same thing as like the 416? I don't know anything about this mic, so
yeah, it's so like it has an attachment you could actually put on it to where it'll actually work off a battery to create its phantom power. I don't have that
really,
on there, but I mean, brand new 10 years ago, this probably would have been $400 or $500, give or take. And it's got some scratches, it's got some love on it, and
that's
but man, it sounds great. And
it
I
does sound really good, especially even over Zoom. I think you've set Zoom up correctly. A lot of people don't. Did you go in to tweak like the actual settings in Zoom to make it high fidelity and all that? Or is this
uh
just like what it sounds like straight plugged in?
this is just straight plugged into the
You can
Rode
actually
A1.
make it sound better than what it does right now, by the way, over Zoom, but it sounds incredible. Um, and we were talking a bit before we hit record about your recording space. It's very unique. I've never heard of this before, but it's absolutely genius.
It actually is very unique, and I'm pretty sure it might be the only one in the world. When I started to decide that I wanted to take this journey, I was looking at spending the money on 2x4s and blankets, and I was going to build something. And I was sitting downstairs at my desk where I have my YouTube channel set up, and I looked over at my stairs, and I went, "Why am I going to waste all this money when I've got a structure?" So believe it or not, like the foam all around here, my mother found it on Facebook for $10, and it ended up being 3 houses down from where I live.
Awesome.
I mean, and the rest of it, I mean, there's no drywall on this side because I have the foam, and then I have some insulation sheets, and then I've actually got it packed with cardboard on the
Mhm.
other side, and then you have the drywall.
Oh,
So
just to
my,
be clear, just because if anybody hasn't picked up on it yet, because we haven't actually said you're underneath your stairs.
I'm I'm
You're
underneath
recording
my stairs.
underneath your
Yeah,
stairs. Your stairs are right above your head.
I use the structure. Yeah, I mean, like if I lean back too far, I hit it. I mean, it's
So genius.
So like on top of me, it's got I had some foam. I caulked in all the lines, and then I had some foam sheeting, and then I ended up getting some cardboard or not cardboard, uh, uh, the layer underneath your carpet.
Oh,
Found
okay,
found a
cool.
cheap piece at Lowe's for it was like $10, you
Yeah.
know, and it was still actually too much, so I had to trim it down. And then I put the 2 inch foam over it. So I mean, I've got multiple layers, so that way my floor usually sits about -70. So when I'm
Oh,
getting ready to
wow.
record, And the best
That's
part
pretty
that
incredible.
that I never even thought about until I started doing all this research and started building it, behind me is the actual stairs. So it keeps going. Well, I built everything right there with foam and additional. It's a big bass trap. So when I speak here,
God,
it bounces off
great.
this wall, it follows the wall down, and it goes underneath my stairs. And I don't think it ever comes back.
Oh my God. Do you know who George the Tech is?
No.
Okay, I'll send you a link to his website. You should email him and just tell him what you did. I think he'd like to talk to you. He's like the go-to audio technician in voiceover. He does a lot of things like he creates processes for people's processing chain for their audio for auditions or for when they're completing a job. But he also helps people build home studios and stuff. I'm not sure if he's ever seen something like this. I would assume he must have because he's done thousands. But I think he'd be interested into hearing how you did this on your own and like the bass trap and all that kind of stuff. Like I think it's such a cool thing you've done. And it sounds incredible. You have no reflections and you sound so clear and present.
And the best part is I
Mhm.
have 3 kids right upstairs.
How do you
Now,
deal with that though with the stairs, like with them running up and down the stairs?
I have a gate at the top that I built. It's been there since we moved in 3 years ago, so that way it keeps them from coming down the stairs. Now, if
Right.
they run down the stairs, I got to throw my headset off because it's going to get loud.
Yeah.
I mean, but like as long as they stay that direction where the living room and the kitchen is, or even the hallway, as long as they're not jumping straight on the outside of the door on the floor, I can't hear them.
Yeah.
Now, if I have my Rode on, my NT1, I'll hear the whole conversations. It still picks up everything out there, but it's not on the recording. It's just in my headset itself. So,
Yeah, the only thing you're gonna have to work out is when you do start booking work and you're doing a live directed session with a client, you're gonna have to figure something out with your family where they're like either out of the house or which would be preferable, or just sitting very, very quiet for, half an hour to an hour at a time. It's pretty rare that you're gonna be on a session for over an hour unless you're doing like
yeah, I
TV
mean, they
production.
have to be really loud for me to hear them down here. Because
Oh,
even the
really?
door that I used, I wrapped it in the insulation for if you go into a bar and you look up and you have your HVAC, the big
Uh-huh.
cylinders, and they wrap it in that insulation. I found a big, huge full roll for $10, normally like 150. So I wrapped a door in it. So when I latch it closed, it's got a seal and there's a small gap at the bottom of the door, but that keeps my air coming in. Otherwise, I'm a big guy. It'll get really hot in here.
Man, you really did it. Like this is so cool. Most people like upgrade as they go over the years but you've like this is how you should do it. If you really want to do it like,
So,
do exactly what you did and just get all the stuff, get a negative 70 noise floor off the
so
bat.
the best part is now, granted, you got to get lucky and like we found the foam, the big sheet, because it was actually I had to cut it in half. It was to like 9 by 9.
Mhm,
It was really big. I've spent, we'll call it less than $70 on this room.
mhm.
I don't
What?
have, I, I go cheap, you know, because it's just that's the best way. My wife doesn't work, and I have 3 kids, and I have a great job that I love. I'm a major account executive for a company, but money's tight all the time. So you have to be
Yeah.
strategic on everything you do, and I like it. You know,
This is so cool, man. Wow. I'm so glad that you reached out to like jump on the YouTube cast, the channel here, and that you told me the story. It's so cool. It's inspiring, and I hope a lot of people that are listening to it right now are getting some ideas of the kind of stuff that you can do for really cheap.
and
Uh,
I read you had an email come out, or maybe it was on your website, and I'm
yeah.
like, well, I'm a content creator. Why, if he's going to give me a coaching, that would help me, and then I'm going to give
Yeah.
him valuable content that he can put out. That'll
Yeah.
help. I mean, that was a perfect scenario.
Yeah. So have you coached before at all? I guess you haven't, right? Because
Nope.
you just got your stuff in November, you were saying.
I've never
Um,
coached with anybody.
Great. Okay. Well, the demo you sent was, it sounds like you know what you're doing. So, I'm excited to get into this. How you feeling? Have you read them a couple times? You're
You sent them this morning, and I read
yeah.
them each about 3 to 4 times.
Great.
And
So
I
that's
and
why
I
you don't need to like make too many choices or anything. You just wanted you to be familiar with the script. That's all.
in my mind, it's always running. So immediately, my mind tried to start to break it down and I'm like, no, no, and I just put it away. So that way, it was, I didn't want to walk in here and you were like, well, you think I didn't want you to do it this way, but you did it this way, and it still sounds, I mean, it was one of those scenarios.
No, it's totally fine. Like, here's the thing. Like, if you made a bunch of choices, I would just try to stretch you in the other direction. And the reason for that is that sometimes you'll find when you start booking work, when you get in with a director, they'll have an idea of the way they want it to go, but they also want to explore. They're really creative. So they'll get you to do the opposite of what you've been doing a lot of the time. Not just to try and put you through the hoops, but to give options to the client as well. So they have really distinct ones. So like, here's an upbeat version of the commercial. Here's a downbeat version of the commercial. Here's an epic version of it. And the more options that you can do, the better it is for them because it makes them look like rock stars. So let's jump into. I try to pick ones that I think would be good for your voice. And I think these are bang on for you. So the first one we're gonna do is Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey. So just casually read it through it the first time. You don't need to perform it. We're just gonna read it to get our mouth around it, get warmed up, and then we'll just talk a bit about it afterwards. Then we'll start getting into the coaching part of it.
Yeah,
So,
sure thing.
all right, whenever you're
Yeah,
ready.
I read this and I'm like, oh, this could be done 3 or 4 ways. In Lynchburg,
Yeah.
Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk to your neighbor about taxes or weather. You can pick up enough wild berries to fill a tin bucket. And you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866. We still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. One sip, and you'll be glad to know we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Great. Good. You're very conversational, even in your first read. It's very good. And your voice sounds great on this spot. Now, one thing I try to do whenever I read a script at first and I go through it, I try to find words that give me a tip on an idea of what they were thinking because the copy usually informs how the commercial is going to go and it can give you ideas of, the sort of usually you'll get direction and they'll tell you, but because we don't have any here, we have to kind of look at the script and guess at what they're getting at. And they pretty much tell you. What words do you see in there that would inform, the kind of feel, the kind of what they're going for with the script?
The first word that sticks out is park, just meaning stop. You know,
Sure.
it just tells me they have a slow life. They're not in a big, huge rush.
Yes, exactly. There's some imagery in there about picking blackberries to fill the tin bucket. That would take a while. So I think you're right on with, the slow, not in a rush. They're talking about Jack Daniels back in 1866, right? It's reflective, thinking about the good times of Jack Daniels. And even that word there, where you just picked it up, like when you're saying slow, deliberate fashion, that literally says it in there. We still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. So when we do this, we're going to slow this right down, pump it full of nostalgia. Um, let's say, let's say you're related to Jack Daniels. This is a story you take pride in. You're a direct descendant of Jack Daniel himself.
Okay.
Now you've personalized it, right? You feel a little bit of pride. Do you drink?
Oh,
Do you
oh,
drink Jack Daniels at all?
I've personalized it. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
And if you've never went down there, it is a dry county, so you can't drink while you're there. But the distillery is amazing. I mean, and when I retire someday, it will be in the Smoky Mountains. So I mean, I laughed when you sent this because
We
this
couldn't have
is
picked a better role for you. Perfect.
so the big key is, do we want to do it in a low voice or do we want to just do a natural?
You want to do it in a natural voice. So, like, here's the thing. Most of the time when you do an audition for something, especially as big as of a client of Jack Daniels, you'll send at least two takes. Your first take, you're going to want to give the most authentic, natural version of your voice that you can. And the second one, you can try something a little different. Maybe you want to, lean into like a Southern accent with this, or, the Tennessee accent, or if you want to maybe make it a little bit more epic and just go to a completely different way to change it up just to show them your range. You can, but I would always make the first take the more natural one. So let's
Okay.
just nice and conversational and natural and, slow, deliberate, and don't forget about the nostalgia. You love Jack Daniels. You got it personalized. So whenever you're ready.
It's all in the water. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk to a neighbor about taxes or the weather. You can pick enough wild berries to fill a tin bucket. And you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866. We still make it slow, deliberate fashion, much as he need, as he did. One sip, and you'll be glad to know we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Great. Now what we're going to do? slow it way down. I'm talking like the half that speed and bring your volume a bit down. You don't need to project it all. Sometimes when especially when you got headphones on, you'll hear your voice and you kind of, especially if you're speaking to a shotgun mic, you'll lean into it a bit and your voice, your volume will get raised unnaturally. Speak as if this thing is an ear. You're talking into somebody's ear. Now, when you're being nostalgic about something, think about just like, you're just reminiscing about it, you know, and you don't need to go super fast. You don't need to enunciate. Just tell me about the good old times with Jack Daniels.
The good old times.
Yeah,
In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes, weather. You can pick enough wild berries to fill a tin bucket, and you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866. We still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. One sip, and you'll be glad to know we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
good. Now let's go back to that first line. Let's work on that first line. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or weather. Now, I want you to say this line to me as if as conversationally as possible. You're just riffing, in Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or what weather. Just don't put anything into it. Just tell me about it. Just tell me about Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Yeah. Hey, in Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road, talk with a neighbor about taxes or the weather.
Great, great. Um, Now take your volume down a little bit, put a half smile on your face, and reminisce. You're not actually in Lynchburg, Tennessee. You're reminiscing about the time there. Let's just say, oh, my God, like, I grew up in Lynchburg, Tennessee. This is how it is. You can do this, you can do that. It's great. It's the best place ever.
Okay. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road with a neighbor and talk about taxes or the weather.
Great. One more time, let's smooth it out a bit. Slow it
And
right
quieter. My
down.
my problem is quiet because I'm a big guy and it just naturally. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about the taxes or the weather.
Great, great. Don't forget the smile. We need a bit of a smile on it.
All right.
Don't worry. Like this is like I'm being pretty nitpicky right now because I'm trying to get you to open up a bit and I'm trying to bring the natural conversationalness that you actually have out as well. And it's kind of like when you're learning to drive a bit and you're like, doing standard and you're just kind of jerking the gears around. Eventually this will just be second nature and you don't even have to think about it. So just like what we just did.
Okay. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or the weather.
Half that speed. Almost
Half
to a
in,
point where it's unnatural, where you feel weird talking that slow.
in Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road, talk with a neighbor about the taxes or the weather.
Great. So like when I say slow, I mean like,
Even slower.
well, like when you say Lynchburg, Tennessee, I want you to pause and then think about Lynchburg, Tennessee for a second and then continue on the rest. I mean like in Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or the weather. Like that slow.
Okay. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or the weather.
Great. Now continue on to the next line with that same attitude. And don't forget to smile.
You can pick enough wild berries to fill a tin bucket. And you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866.
Now, with this line, I need you to drive it. I need you to confidently drive it home, but that doesn't mean raise your volume or talk faster. I just need the tempo, the beat of it to be consistent all the way through. So and you can see a distillery where Jack Daniel made whiskey way back in 1866.
And you can
Drive it.
see and you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866.
Okay. Don't put any emphasis on any of the words. just let them come out. The copy is going to do the work on this. And also because it's definitely a TV commercial, you're going to be the supporting act. The lead act will be the visuals and the Jack Daniels distillery that you said you've seen it, right?
Hmm.
It's impressive, right?
It's man, when they yeah, stories I could tell about it. It's we'll put
Yeah,
it
so
that way.
you don't need to sell it. It's literally just, and you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866. It's just you're proud of it. And there it is on the screen. You don't need to sell it. Just tell us about it.
And you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866.
That was great. That was really good. Okay. Let's continue on to the next and just keep it slow down and just relax and natural.
We still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. One sip, and you'll be glad to know that we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Right. Okay. Go back to we still make it slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. Just that line.
We still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did.
Right. And then the next line.
One sip, and you'll be glad to know we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Great. Now let's do the whole thing again. With that speed, it seems like you kind of got it now. Now I want you to add a little smooth sipping swagger to it. You
Okay,
know, this is the best whiskey that there is. You do not need to sell this. The less you sell it, the
the
more it
better
will
it'll be.
sell. Yeah. Like you really don't need to sell this at all.
Okay. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or the weather. You can pick enough wild berries to fill a tin bucket. And you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866. We still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. One sip, and you'll be glad to know we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
That was fantastic. That was good. Now I'm going to say one thing,
Mhm.
slow it down just a little bit. Honestly, like here's the thing that I think would help. Like we don't have music for this, but if there was music, like here's the thing. I'm actually going to play something on.
Yeah, I can picture it, and I mean I see the commercial with them pouring into a glass, and it's
Yeah, I want to like I did a commercial. Let's see if I can find it. Inspirational epic. Yeah, I don't see it in here. I don't want to waste any time with it. But yeah, like think of something that's, like warm, some music. There's, it's not fast moving, something a little folksy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just a song that just get something like that in your head. Something that moves real slow and smooth, and then start.
Well, it's actually called Tennessee whiskey. So
The song?
yeah,
Hold on, let me
that's
find it.
you'll if you've never heard it, you'll love it.
Let's see here. By Chris Stapleton.
Yep.
See, I'll hold this up to the microphone as soon as we get through the ad. Oh my God, perfect.
I can't hear it, just so you know.
But you can't hear that?
Not at all.
What? It's cutting it out.
It's because it's a background noise.
Oh, right. Hold on, let me try like this. Let's go on to see if it'll play it through here. Can you hear that?
Barely. It's all right. I got it. It's a
Okay.
great song. Listen to it later, though.
Anybody watching this, listen to Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. But you've got it. You got the idea.
Yeah.
Music actually helps sometimes when you're trying to figure out an ad, and especially if you're doing something as big as the one we're doing right now.
All right. Here we go. In Lynchburg, Tennessee, you can park in the middle of the road to talk with a neighbor about taxes or the weather. You can pick enough wild berries to fill a tin bucket. And you can see a distillery where Jack Daniels made whiskey way back in 1866. We still make it slow. In a, we still make it in a slow, deliberate fashion, much as he did. One sip, and you'll be glad to know we don't ever plan to stop. Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Great. Let's take that tag again. Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey. Just drive it through.
Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
A little bit more of a beat after Jack Daniels. So Jack Daniels, smooth
Jack
sipping.
Daniels, right? Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Try and smooth that out. Smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey. It's like one thing.
Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Great. Can you tighten it up a little bit more? Smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
You're still kind of like you're going smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey. You're separating them. What I'm trying to do is get you to have the tempo all the same and picture it as almost if it's one word.
Okay.
Smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey is one word.
Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey. There's
Great.
still a gap there.
It's better, but you're kind of rushing into it. You can just literally just go Jack Daniels, smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Okay. Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
You did it, but then you
Mm.
went right into it. Like you did smooth sipping Tennessee whiskey, but you jumped from Jack Daniels right into it. So just say Jack Daniels, count to two, then say the rest. Count to two in your head.
Jack Daniels, smooth, sipping Tennessee whiskey.
Perfect. That was like a second, but yeah, you did it. Okay, let's jump into the Bose one. Very good job on the Jack Daniels. Your voice is perfect for it. You got it. I just think, yeah, here's the thing. When you're starting out, like we always, the microphone, for whatever reason, it makes us speed up, it makes us raise our voice. Pay attention when you're just having a conversation with your family just around the house and just consider the tempo of your voice when you're just being natural. What does it sound like? How do you break up sentences? Like, what does your conversational voice sound like? And then you can, once you start noticing that, you can start incorporating it into your reads. Because these days with commercials, unless they tell you they want like a strong selling announcer, which they still do sometimes, most of it is going to be your natural speaking voice. And you have to do a lot less than you think. The less, the better most of the time. But that doesn't mean give it flat. You still have to make it dynamic and all that. And case in point, the one we're about to do. Bose home theater systems.
Give
So
me one
just give
second.
it one read through it once you get it up, and then yeah, we'll talk about it.
I got to widen the screen here. So for
Yeah,
some
that's
odd
all.
reason, it is hiding part of it. Come on now. All right. Uh, and I lost your picture. I'm sure you're still there.
I'm still here. Don't worry, I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere.
Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose, better sound through research.
Right. I've worked for both. So there's two ways that this could go. This is where you're going to use your takes, right? If you're doing an audition for this, you're going to go your first one, we're going to do it really natural and conversational. So with this, I would put it like literally you're talking to your best friend, as they always say in voiceover, but you have to picture who your best friend is. Like in literally whoever that best friend is in your life, you're just telling them, they're like, I don't know what kind of home theater system I should get. I don't know. I'm thinking about getting an Alpine. I don't know. Do people even buy Alpine anymore? I don't know. I'm thinking about getting whatever, but you're like, no, no, you are the ultimate Bose fanboy, right? So you're just gonna tell me about it. So hey, Lucas, I don't know. I think I want to get I don't know. I don't know what kind of theater system should I have. Do you have any recommendations?
Really, Bose home theater system customizes their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything else just doesn't make sense. Bose, better sound through research.
Okay. Can you give it to me a little bit more matter of fact? You're really confident. You don't you seemed a little bit like unsure And we don't want that. We want to
No
be
way.
100% confident and sure. But that doesn't mean raise your voice.
Okay.
Just tell it to me, matter of fact.
Bose home theater system customized their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose, better sound through research.
Right. One more time. Slow it way down. Just because you when you watch this back, when you see it, because you'll see it. Listen to how you talk when you talk to me normal. You
Mhm.
and then listen to how fast you're doing the voiceover. Like the way I'm talking to you right now, it's not very quick, and you're talking at a similar pace. But then when you start reading, you're like, Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less doesn't make sense. Bose better sound through research. I'm like, what just happened?
Okay, I get it.
So we got to slow it down just because at the end of the day, not only are we trying to sound conversational, but we are in fact selling a product, even though we're trying not to sell. So they need to hear those words. When you work for clients like Bose, a lot of the time, um, there's not going to be a whole lot of copy. The reason for that is because they're trying to fit as much as they can into a short amount of time, right? This is going to be like a 15-second ad. So they
Okay.
use the word economy that they use is going to be very, very, very well thought out. So they're going to want to hear it. They're going to want to
They
hear these words.
they get the most bang for their buck for sure.
Exactly.
Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose, better sound through research.
Good. Good. Great. Now let's just focus on that first line. Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. So before you say this line, I want you to kind of be like, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to get my point across here? And just think about that for a second and then start. So what I mean by that is like almost like a moment before like even say my name, like, okay, Jesse, well, listen, and then go into it. So like if I was going to do it, I'd be like, okay, Lucas, Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room.
Okay.
Like very conversational. I'm just trying to get my point across. Here's what they do. I'm teaching you something. So
Okay.
teach me about both. Make sure I get it.
Listen, Jesse. Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room.
Right. More matter of fact. Like you don't need to sell it. Right now I feel like you're kind of selling me on it. I'm like, I don't know. Don't sell me on it. Just tell me straight up. Like, teach me about it, but don't sell me on it.
Matter of fact, Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room.
That was great. That was great. I'd still slow it down just a little bit. Um, Now on this next line, it's almost like a shrug, you know? Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you? Why would you not choose? Have you personally had experience with the Bose home theater
I
system?
have
You have, it's
not mine.
amazing.
I can't afford them, but I mean, I've heard them. I've messed with them.
Yeah, especially now with like the 3D sound and it sounds like all the stuff's like around you all the time. It's amazing. Choosing anything less just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
See?
Choosing anything else just doesn't make sense.
Great.
Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, almost like just make sure you just
But
like
slower.
talk it through, slow it down, and just shrug it away. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense.
Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense.
Great. Good. And then Bose. Better sound through research.
Bose. Bose. Better sound
Bose.
through research.
You sounded like Anchorman when you did that. Have you seen Anchorman?
Bose. Better sound through
Bose.
research.
The Ron Burgundy version. Yeah, just with that one, Bose, like you just say it. You don't
Yeah.
need to put any effort into it. Because the thing about Bose is it's so well known that just saying the name Bose is going to get attention. Bose. Better sound through research, you know?
Bose. Better sound through research.
Yeah, that's a take for sure. That's valid what you did. I liked it, but I think that Bose, I think their brand is a little more confident. I think you would just say it. Bose, better sound through research. I think you would just say it.
Bose. Better sound through research.
Still a bit, you're like almost question marking, like Bose.
Okay.
Should I get Bose? No, just Bose. What should I get? Bose.
Bose. Better sound through research.
Did it again.
Bose. Better sound through research.
Can you almost get angry at me a bit? Bose.
Bose. Better. See there? My Bose. Better sound through research.
Okay, what's one plus one?
Two.
You said two. Okay. You're kind of what I'm meaning is like you're going up. You're doing an up glide. You're going
Okay.
two. I'm looking for two. I'm looking for bows. Go on a down glide. Instead of going bows, bow.
Bose.
That's it. One more
Bose.
time.
Better sound through research.
That's exactly it. Start that whole thing and do it just like how you just did those lines right there.
That's
Whole
the
thing.
deeper, that's the lower voice there.
If that's what you got to do to get there, that's what I'm looking for.
Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose. Better sound through research.
Good. Now, what I would like to try is the epic version of this. Sometimes in their ads, they have like, you know, they have like all kind. It's kind of ironic because they'll have surround sound stuff going on in their commercials, even though they're selling their surround sound. But you could really only get the full effect of what they're doing in the commercials if you already had the Bose home theater system,
Mhm.
which in that case you wouldn't need to buy one, which makes their commercial irrelevant, which is kind of like it's a weird thing that they do, but they do it. It's almost like when you watch a Bose commercial, sometimes they have like, THX when you go to the theater and it's like, whoa, and they do all that
Yeah.
stuff going around you. That's what Bose commercials, a lot of them are like. So that's the kind of stuff that's going on sometimes in their commercials. And if they were going to do that with this, it'd be like Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. And there's like all these noises going off around you while you're saying this. So give me like your epic version of this. But to do it epic and dramatic, you've got to slow it way down. I would say 10% of the speed that you're doing it. Like don't go 10% slower, go 90% slower.
Okay. Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose. Better sound through research.
That was like 20% slower.
All right.
Here's the thing, like, don't be afraid to sound foolish because it's not. I'm getting that we have two very different concepts of time. You think you're going slower in your head because you've got your earphones on and you're semi new at this. Your concept of time is skewed. Things like you're in matrix time, I call it. When you're trying to, maybe you've got a little bit of nerves and you're trying to say the lines, it feels like you're going slow, but really to everybody else, you're going quick. So just go even slower to the point where it's like super unnatural. Listen to how slow I'm speaking right now. It feels foolish, but it works, and you're understanding what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
Slower than that, just as an exercise. Don't worry if it sounds terrible.
It'll never sound terrible.
I like the confidence.
Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose. Better sound through research.
That was great. You're really good at the epic stuff. That's not a big stretch for you at all. I would say that as far as the conversational stuff goes, I think you need a little bit of work, but it's unlearning. It's that you're putting too much into it. It's when you're doing voiceover, when you're trying to sound natural and conversational, you need to do a lot less than you think. And one thing that's going to help you with that is when you're recording, don't put your headphones on.
Okay.
You'll notice, do me a favor, do an exercise where, or even just right now, take your headphones off and just for the viewers to hear and for yourself to hear later when you rewatch this, give me
All
the
right.
conversational read of Bose without the headphones.
So not epic.
Not epic. Let's go
Okay.
back to conversational and just take the headphones off and just say it to me conversationally.
Bose home theater systems customize their sound to fit your room. Choosing anything less just doesn't make sense. Bose. Better sound through research.
That was great. That was good. It was good. Still, like the speed thing's a little bit, it's a little bit quick for me, but that's just going to take some time to figure out. A lot of problems in voiceover when you're starting, they can be worked out just by doing it. Some coaches out there will tell you, no, you'll only figure that out with a coach. And that's just not true. A coach can help you get there quicker, but just doing it over and over and over again in different ways, that will help you get better. You'll just get more skilled at reading the copy and you'll become more intuitive. You'll get more creative with the way that you can get your mouth around it. So yeah, I think you're in a really good place to start.
Yeah, I knew that I needed to slow down. I think I've done like 20 auditions for like audiobooks just
Oh yeah,
because I mean it's ACX. It's you at least you're getting practice whether no,
yeah,
I mean, but I mean, I can tell that I need to like just like a half a second sometimes where I just need to chill out and just relax instead
yeah.
of making sure you hit the.
You know, one thing that's good to do, if you go to ispot.tv, what you'll find on the type in best commercials of 2023, I'd say 2024, but it's so early in 24, there's probably not many
The
commercials.
Super Bowl hasn't happened yet. They're not out yet.
Exactly. So go best commercials of 2023, and just really listen to like what they're doing with the VOs. And sure, the volume's cranked up so that you can hear them, but like you'll hear that there's not a whole lot of effort. It's effortless what they're doing. And a lot of like how I'm speaking right now, that could be a voiceover. It's almost irritating like how little effort you need to put into it because it's like, what am I even doing anything? And yeah, it reads really well on the right commercials. Sometimes, of course, you have to be epic. Sometimes you got to be really high energy and you're doing like a casino commercial and everybody come on down for the $1 million jackpot. There's all kinds of different reads that you can do. The more you hear of those and spend actual time dissecting what they're doing, the better you'll get too at it. And that's stuff you can do for free on your own without working for a coach, and that'll help you get better. And just doing it, drilling it over and over and over. Because when you're doing a lot of auditions, let's say if you're on, I don't know, are you on voices.com?
I have the free account, so I can't afford to sign up full. But yeah, I'm
Right.
on there.
ACX is fine too to start. It's just I don't do ACX because the audiobooks don't pay very well. So I don't like doing them. But it's still good audition practice, and I believe they give you some direction, right? When you're doing the auditions, they'll say, "Oh, we want it to be
Sometimes
natural." Like, okay. So the reason that I really like Voice.com when you're starting is because it's really beginner friendly because everything's done on the platform, so you don't need to worry about billing and communicating with clients on the platform, yada yada yada, all that stuff. But the cool thing about when you're starting is that when you're doing auditions, there's always most of the time, not always, but most of the time, there's a line of direction. Like we want it to sound warm, or we want it to sound articulate, or we want it to sound upbeat, or guy next door, or epic, or whatever. And you'll constantly be coming up against that when you're going through your auditions through the day. So it's really good practice. Instead of just reading scripts with no direction, you're actually reading real auditions with real direction, and you're imprinting that in your mind as you're going through it, and you'll see the same direction for the same kind of script over and over and over and over. Then eventually you just kind of know what to do, just like driving, and you won't even think about it.
I hate driving.
Well, I just think back to like when you're first driving. I don't know,
No, I
maybe you're like
absolutely.
a driving savant, but like when I started driving stick, I was like, now I just don't even think about it.
Oh,
Like
I remember getting slapped from my father because it was so bad.
I drove through a fence. Like anyway, so that's my rant on that. And I think you're in a really good place to start. I think you're a genius for making your booth under stairs and getting -70 noise floor. Before I do my sign off, which I'm gonna do at the end, and then we can, talk off the record afterwards as well. Is there any questions or anything like that? Are there any comments? Anything you wanted to
You know,
ask?
I appreciate you. I mean, I've learned a lot in 30 minutes or, however long we've been down here. So I appreciate you. It's a good experience.
All right.
I look forward to us working in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Lucas. I really appreciate it. And yeah, like I said, you're in a great spot. So yeah, man, you've dove right in. And I really appreciate it. Appreciate you being on the channel and all that. Now I'm just gonna do my quick sign off. Thank you everybody for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with somebody that might get some value out of it. And until next time, I've been Jesse. This is Luke. I've been Jesse. This is Lucas. We'll see you in the next one. I'm a voiceover and I'm a voiceover actor and I can't even speak. There's hope for everybody.
It's
All right, we'll talk in a second.